I might be able to live stream it. Yeah. Holy crap.
It's working.
Yep.
Your computer.
Your computer. Now they're hearing us. Holy crap.
It's working.
Yep.
Your computer.
Your computer. Now they're hearing us. Holy crap.
It's working.
Yep.
Your computer.
Your computer. I see confused faces, want you to let you know that you have audio. I'm just staying muted while everyone is filtering in. We're also doing something new where it's streaming on YouTube Live. So I'm really paying attention to how this goes this time as our first attempt at streaming also. So I'll be back. So you'll notice the live on YouTube icon in the corner. So if you have friends or family who can't get to Zoom, you can send them to our YouTube page and they can watch the service live with what looks like a few second delay, but you know, it's better than nothing. I'm going to try unmuting all for just a moment so we can have the sort of the chatter. If it becomes painful, I'm going to cut you all off. How's that? Right. And I'm going to keep letting people in. Karma and Kristen, if you can help me let people in, that would be fabulous too. Thank you.
Morning, everybody.
Hi,
Hey,
Carol.
everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi,
Morning.
Catherine.
Morning.
Hi. I don't know if we need voices. So I'm looking at the faces.
It's fun to just do the scroll through on gallery view and see everybody. And
Disconnected.
I don't know why.
I pressed the Zoom assistant rather than chat. So I got another session.
Hi, Bill.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Ross.
Hi, Bill.
Carol.
Hi, Cheryl. Good to see you.
Hi. Hi,
I
everybody.
tried to phone you and email you, but I got cut off.
Hey.
Sorry.
Mary Alice, you need to get yourself a phone book to sit on.
I tried to phone you and email you, but I got cut off.
Mary Alice, where'd you go? Hi, Jenny.
Hi. Hi.
Karen.
Jenny. Hi.
Karen,
Hi, Don.
Hey, Don.
all right, I'm going to move us to waving now and gestures and the chat. Okay.
Don. Hey, Don. Good morning, River.
Uh-huh. I know. And that You cannot hear me because I am muted. I did that on purpose, just to keep things limited. And also because since we're streaming to YouTube live, I didn't know if, anybody who's there just wanted to hear me yattering on for the sake of yattering on. So, but I do want to say, is that you, Karen, saying you can't hear? I want to make sure you can hear this now, but now there's so many people on the screen that I can't find you again. So if you're still having sound issues, put something in the chat and maybe we can help you figure out why you're not hearing things. We can hear, okay, good, all right. So I'm gonna give everybody another minute to come on in. And like I said, if Zoom feels frustrating, you can give up and go over to YouTube Live. No, don't do that, no. And don't try doing both because that's really interesting. And Henry, if it's okay with you, I'm going to make you a co-host. Yeah.
Yeah, should make a little side look at the old school graphics that.
You're unmuted. What are you? Tell me. Michael just made the suggestion that I should have like signs or like muted, on air, or right. So I will put that on my list for next week. I'm going to mute for a moment. I'll be right back. All right, good morning, everyone. I know we still have folks filtering in. It's lovely to see all of you. This is very fun to scroll through and see all these smiling faces, mostly smiling faces. No, hopefully soon to be smiling faces. Hi, Christy. All right, we got some people on the phone too. Great. All right, so. Oh my God, Ellen Rowan, you're here. Oh, and my cousin Christy is here. Oh, this is too fun. Okay. Ellen, it's so nice to see you here or have you here. Oh, exciting. Yes, if everyone, good point. Thank you, Henry. If you have a chalice or candle or something you'd like to light as part of our service, find it now with a matches that work or a lighter. I'm going to hit record since I seem to forget to do that all the time, but today I will not. There we go. And I have matches. Yes. Okay. So, good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see you. Like I said, this is great. Since we don't have too many newcomers, but I'll just say I'm the Reverend Dr. Leonisa Ardizzone, minister at the UU Congregation of the Catskills in Kingston, New York. I welcome all guests and visitors and our friends and members into our latest ritual of celebration, the online Zoom worship service. Whomever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. If you don't know much about Unitarian Universalism, we are a liberal religious faith that carries no creed and welcomes all seekers into our fold. We are guided by 7 principles and 6 sources that encompass the many ways we come to know and understand the world and the divine. At UU Catskills, we affirm that Black Lives Matter. We are a welcoming congregation for members of the LGBTQ community. We are a congregational affiliate of the Ulster Immigrant Defense Network, and we are active voices in the effort to address climate change. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm going to, as I say every week, ask that everyone remain muted unless I unmute you for something. It gets a little crazy when you have 57 different people trying to talk at the same time on a computer. I encourage you, well, since we're muted, to sing along, speak along. Even though you're the only person hearing yourself, I think all our voices lifted up in all the corners of the county and beyond that we are is a wonderful thing to do. And as I joked last week, I think it's great if you open your windows and sing loud and let your neighbors know what you're up to on this Sunday morning and every Sunday morning. If you haven't figured it out yet, you can move between speaker view and gallery view so that you can either see me or see everybody else, your choice. I'm going to invite everyone also to stick around like we've been doing for our virtual coffee hour, which has been a lot of fun. We'll break us into rooms and we can catch up. I usually throw a few questions out there if you'd like. I'd like to also say that all the music and videos today are used by permission, either from the artists or the UUA. Just quick reminders for this week. We have a few online events, as all of them now are. Today at 2, we are offering our Kundalini yoga, but starting this week, we are switching yoga to Friday mornings at 9:30. And as a special treat, our first Friday class will be a chair yoga. Our instructor, Hari Prakash, is doing her best so that everyone realizes that you can do yoga no matter what your mobility might be. So she's going to offer a chair yoga to kick us off on Friday morning at 9:30. Every Thursday, we will continue to gather for Brewed Awakenings at 9:30 in the morning, where we have our hot beverage and our big question conversation. And then at 7 p.m. on every Thursday, we will continue with bedtime story. So if you'd like to join any of those. Also, if you'd like to be added to our mailing list, please put it in the chat box or visit us at uucatskills.org. And I just wanted to put one more reminder. I know many of us are helping the Ulster Immigrant Defense Network deliver food to those who do not have access to food right now. They could still use some more volunteers. So if that is something you are interested in or able or curious about, just send me an email and I'll get more information to you. Now I invite you to settle in. Actually, first I'm going to share my screen. Too many screens. Dun, da, da, da. Here we go. Okay. All right, we already did that. We emailed an order service, another new thing we pulled off this week. So you have a rough idea and maybe you saw it in your email. I'd love to get feedback if that was helpful or not. Here's our rough order of service. And now, as I was going to say, settle in, take a deep breath, and enter into this time apart from time. And Sorry. God, every time I think I have this organized. So that was a composition called Joy Spring by Clifford Brown. And since our topic today is living fully and joyfully, I thought we'd start with something uplifting like that. Our opening words this morning come from Buddhist scholar and environmental activist Joanna Macy. Compassion, which is grief in the grief of others, is but one side of the coin. The other side is joy in the joy of others, which in Buddhism is called mudita. To the extent that we allow ourselves to identify with the sufferings of other beings, we can identify with their strengths as well. This is very important for a sense of adequacy and resilience because we face a time of great challenge that demands of us more commitment, endurance, and courage than we can dredge up out of our own supply. We can learn to draw on the other neurons in the neural net and view them in a grateful and celebratory fashion. In the spirit of joy, resilience, and the collective we, come, let us worship together. We'll begin with our unison affirmation. I'll put it up here. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love to all living beings. May we know once again that we are not isolated, but connected in wonder and joy to mystery and miracle in the universe, in this community, and in each other. I invite you now to light your chalice. I'll show our chalice lighting words. And as we're lighting or after you light, if you want to place in the chat box, where you're lighting your chalice, I think that would be wonderful. We light this chalice in grateful, loving community. Even in the darkest of times, may its flame light paths to courage, justice, and hope. Let's see. Milan, New Paltz, Kingston, Woodstock, Hurley, Red Hook, Rhinebeck. More Kingston, Glasgow Turnpike. Well, as we are entering Olive Bridge, Woodstock. Oh, newcomer. Hi, Kate from Kingston. Rosendale. How specific. We've got a street name. How exciting. And a fun street name too, Cottontail Lane. So let's sing our first hymn together. I'm finding Catherine in my scroll here. There's got to be a better way to do this. There she is. Okay, I'm gonna unmute Catherine and put the hymn lyrics on a slide, right? Is that okay? All right, so I'm gonna mute myself.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be
force a change. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in. And to rejoice and come in. And to rejoice and come in. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in.
Thank you, Catherine. I don't know if anybody else was dancing, but we were over here, so. I thought I saw a few kids slipping. And I am ready for our Not for Children Only. So I saw Hazel, I saw Austin. I'm not sure, it might take me a while to scroll through to see all the kiddos. But as we know, since it's not for children only, it's for everyone to enjoy. And we're going to read one of my favorite stories called The Three Questions. And I have it on a slideshow. So I'm going to share my screen again. Here we go. This one. And share. Nope. One more time. This one. Mamma mia. Okay, are you all seeing a picture of a boy and animals there? Okay, good. Okay. All right, so The Three Questions, which is based on a story by Leo Tolstoy, but John Muth wrote and illustrated this. There was once a boy named Nikolai who sometimes felt uncertain about the right way to act. I want to be a good person, he told his friends, but I don't always know the best way to do that. Nikolai's friends understood and they wanted to help him. If only I could find the answers to my three questions, Nikolai continued, then I would always know what to do. When is the best time to do things? Who is the most important one? What is the right thing to do? Nikolai's friends considered his first question. Then Sonia the heron spoke. To know the best time to do things, one must plan in advance, she said. Gogol the monkey, who had been rooting through some leaves to find something good to eat, said, you will know when to do things if you watch and pay close attention. Then Pushkin the dog, who was just dozing off, rolled over and said, you can't pay attention to everyone yourself. You need a pack to keep watch and help you decide when to do things. For example, Gogol, a coconut is about to fall on your head. Nikolai thought for a moment. Then he asked his second question. Who is the most important one? Those who are closest to heaven, said Sonia, circling up into the sky. Those who know how to heal the sick, said Gogol, stroking his bruised noggin. Those who make the rules, growled Pushkin. Nikolai thought some more. Then he asked the third question. What is the right thing to do? Flying, said Sonia. Having fun all the time, laughed Gogol. Fighting, barked Pushkin right away. Then the boy thought for a long while. He loved his friends. He knew they were all trying their best to help him answer his questions, but their answers didn't seem quite right. Then an idea came to him. I know, he thought, I will ask Leo the turtle. He has lived a very long time. Surely he will know the answers I am looking for. Nikolai hiked high up into the mountains where the old turtle lived all alone. When Nikolai arrived, he found Leo digging a garden. The turtle was old and digging was hard for him. I have 3 questions I came to ask your help, Nikolai said. When is the best time to do things? Who is the most important one? What is the right thing to do? Leo listened carefully, but he only smiled. Then he went on digging. You must be tired, Nikolai said at last. Let me help you. The turtle gave him his shovel and thanked him. And because it was easier for a young boy to dig than it was for an old turtle, Nikolai kept on digging until the rows were finished. But just as he finished, the wind blew wildly and rain burst from darkened clouds. As they moved toward the cottage for shelter, Nikolai suddenly heard a cry for help. Running down the path, he found a panda whose leg had been injured by a fallen tree. Carefully, Nikolai carried her into Leo's house and made a splint for her leg with a stick of bamboo. The storm raged on, banging at the doors and windows. The panda woke up. Where am I? She said. And where is my child? The boy ran out of the cottage and down the path. The roar of the storm was deafening. Pushing against the howling wind and drenching rain, he ran farther into the forest. There he found the panda's child, cold and shivering on the ground. The little panda was wet and scared, but alive. Nikolai carried her inside and made her warm and dry. Then he laid her in her mother's arms. Leo smiled when he saw what the boy had done. The next morning, the sun was warm, birds sang, and all was well with the world. The panda's leg was healing nicely, and she thanked Nikolai for saving her and her baby from the storm. At that moment, Sonia, Gogol, and Pushkin arrived to make sure everyone was all right. Nikolai felt great peace within himself. He had wonderful friends, and he saved the panda and her child, but he also felt disappointed. He still had not found the answers to his 3 questions. So he asked Leo one more time. The old turtle looked at the boy. But your questions have been answered, he said. They have? Asked the boy. Yesterday, if you had not stayed to help me dig my garden, you wouldn't have heard the panda's cries for help in the storm. Therefore, the most important time was the time you spent digging the garden. The most important one at that moment was me, and the most important thing to do was to help me with my garden. Later, when you found the injured panda, the most important time was the time you spent mending her leg and saving her child. The most important ones were the panda and her baby. And the most important thing to do was to take care of them and make them safe. Remember then that there is only one important time, and that time is now. The most important one is always the one you are with. And the most important thing is to do good for the one who is standing at your side. For these, my dear boy, are the answers to what is most important in the world. This is why we are here. Raise your hand if you'd heard that story before in some form. I love it. And as we live in these times we are physically more separated, I think it's so great to think that the now is what's important. And the people we're with at home or whoever we're talking to in that given moment, whether it's on Zoom or a phone call, is the most important one. And the work we do to keep our family healthy and our community healthy is the good we should do in the world. So I thought I'd share that. And I hope everybody enjoyed that. I'd like to invite everyone with those thoughts in your mind of the now or the 3 questions, however you think of them, to put your feet on the ground if you want. Get yourself comfortable as we enter into our time for contemplation and compassion. As we know, each week we take this pause during the great pause to breathe, to pull our heads out of maybe the daily madness we're feeling, to give thanks, to honor our emotions, and to acknowledge our place in the universe, and to connect with that which is greater than us. So again, how about another deep breath as we hit our pause button. And as we enter into this moment of reflection, let's first start by thinking of the sadnesses or disappointments you're carrying in your heart. What are the concerns that are making you blue? If you'd like to share something you're carrying, you can type it into the chat box. Or you can just sit silently and feel your feelings. I know we collectively are worried about the state of our community, our nation, our friends and neighbors. We're worried about the health of those people who are working so hard to save and repair and care for lives. We offer a prayer for the doctors and nurses and others treating patients. We hear from Jenny that her partner Charles was in the ICU with heart issues, but he is safe and back home now. Let's carry the sorrows we each have, knowing that our sorrows are connected to those of others. And by being mindful of one another's pain, we can help each other get through this challenging time. Let's take a deep breath. And I ask us all now to think of a joy or a blessing or a treat or something that made you smile over the past week. Maybe it was yesterday's sunshine that seemed to take a long time to show up. Maybe it's the time you were able to do some work in your garden. Maybe it's the visits with friends at your 6 to 8 foot distance where you get to see people you love, even though you can't touch them. So think of those joys and blessings as part of our time this morning. And if you'd like to type any of those in, you can do that as well. emails with family, a day alone to bike ride, breathe, and relax, a haircut for a pet, getting to know neighbors at a safe distance while their dogs are playing, a social distance party, using WhatsApp to connect with friends abroad. I'm particularly joyful that I was able to have a social distance picnic with my parents, who I've not seen in 7 or 8 weeks, which is a very long time for Italian family members to go without seeing each other. So learning to cook, that's a good joy. Celebrating Liesel's 3rd birthday. Happy birthday, Liesel. Yes, sharing time with friends on a deck, taking a walk and seeing trees in bloom, reminding us that life goes on. Ah, Henry's son Ray also had a birthday, 23, and a brief sterile ground meeting to celebrate, and connecting with friends you've lost touch with. It's nice to see all these joys. We shall carry them as our collective work of the Spirit continues. Please join me in a moment of prayer, followed by Spirit of Life, which Catherine will play, and I will put a slide with the lyrics up. Spirit of Life, help us to honor our sadness, grief, and worry, as well as our resilience, joy, and support. During this time, may we be reminded that we are not alone, that our collective we is greater than our individual me, and through that spirit of connection, we can not just survive, but actually thrive. Although we may be physically distant from members of our community, our hearts remain connected. Remind us to use this time to count our blessings, to support those who have less and need more, to find joy in our daily lives. Help us to live deeply into our UU values. Remind us that we are part of something greater and we are surrounded by love. Amen.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rising the sea. Move in my hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots fully close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Oh, I'm saying stuff and it's muted. Sorry. Okay. as we enter into a slide I'm going to put up for our offering and offertory time, I want to give a thank you to our treasurer, Karma Haas, who has really put in a lot of work organizing our fundraising and keeping track of our expenses. And one of the most challenging yet important, and now I think highly successful things she's done is helped us figure out how to give online and through text messaging, which is pretty cool. I'm going to give you so I'm going to put a slide up that shows how we can give. I know it's a challenging time for many of us. And I know, though, with those challenges means that lots of people are in need, and we want to continue our work in caring for others. Our half plate, today's I think our final Sunday of sharing our plate with the Radio Kingston Community Fund. So I encourage you to help with that. They are giving grants to Kingston residents who have lost jobs or lost income. So they are trying to support people in Kingston as best they can. And I am going to give you a model too. So with the texting, which is probably the easiest thing, I've done it myself. You text in a number. If it's your first time, you just got to do a quick setup. But what you can do is just put the amount of money, it'll show it on the slide, a space and the word half plate, all one word, because we have different funds to donate to. So I know I know we're all worried, but I want to say I deeply appreciate all the giving that has been happening in this community, even during this challenging time. And I'm especially delighted, I'm going to share the screen and play a song by my friend, Kim Kalesti, who is this amazing jazz musician and songwriter, spends some of her time up in the Woodstock area. And she wrote a song called I Have Joy in My Life. And she gave me permission for us to listen to it today. So I encourage you to just enjoy.
I have joy in my life every morning and throughout the day. I have joy in my life. I won't let nothing come in the way of my sweet blissful joy. Every day when I wake, I have joy in my life. I'll refuse to react to the anger. My heavenly joy will grow stronger, like waves of the ocean will lift us. I have love in my life every morning and throughout the day. I have love in my life. I won't let nothing come in the way of my sweet blissful love. Every day when I wake, I have love in my life. I refuse to react to the anger. My heavenly joy will grow stronger, like waves of the ocean will lift us. Of joy.
Thank you all for your generosity, and for supporting the work of UU Catskills. Our reading this morning is from Steve Taylor, psychologist, professor, and spiritual author. It's a poem entitled Divine Dissatisfaction, the Opening. When you sense there's something more, when the life that used to satisfy you no longer seems enough, and security seems suffocating and pleasures lose their taste, when dreams of success don't motivate you anymore, and diversions don't seem to divert you, when familiarity seems oppressive like a coat that's too old and tight, and every repetition of the old routine makes you feel more stale and weary. When you find yourself aching with a sadness that doesn't seem to have a source, with a hunger that seems too subtle to satisfy. When strange energies are pulsing through you like the tremors of an earthquake deep down inside, and you can feel the ground shifting and are afraid of losing balance. And you ask yourself, what's wrong with me? Why can't I be happy anymore? Have no fear. There's nothing wrong with you. This isn't anxiety or depression, it's divine dissatisfaction. You're not breaking down, but breaking through. This is your awakening, the tearing of the veil, the opening of your soul. Your real self is emerging slowly, painfully through the hard skin of your chrysalis. The old world is receding behind you, and you're waiting at the threshold of the new, disoriented, wondering how to make sense of this strange place. But as long as you have the courage to move forward, a guide will appear and your path will form before you, and a glorious adventure will begin. And soon the lushness of this landscape won't startle you anymore. Soon the brilliance of this sun won't dazzle you. Soon the vastness of this space won't feel overwhelming. And the magic and meaning of this new world will embrace you. So, most of us have hit the 6-week mark of being homebound or socially isolated in some way. Some days it feels really icky and hard and challenging. And other days it feels just fine, like it was just what we may have needed. I know from conversations with many of you, as well as with friends and family, that the distance and uncertainty is taking a toll on our psyches. It is hard not to touch. It's hard not to go out with friends. It's hard not to have a cocktail at the Stockade on Thursday evenings. What I found in this pandemic, this great pause, is that it can either make us feel grateful or make us feel lousy, or of course, something in the middle, or both, every day, or every hour of every day. I imagine it changes from day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute for each of you as it does for me. And I want to honor that for a moment, to recognize that by feeling what we are feeling and experiencing our experiences instead of ignoring them or distancing ourselves, we are living fully, living in the moment, honoring ourselves and accepting our reality. Let's take a breath into that reality. I decided for today's reflection to encourage us all not to just live fully, but to also live joyfully. I know there are lots of books and websites and podcasts out there in the world designed to help us be happy, to live large, to find our calling, to break out of our cages. All of these tools are there to help you create the life you really want, not the one you've been told to want or the one that you seem to be stuck with, but the life you really want. And of course, there's a ton of writing about what we can learn living through hardship and sacrifice. It's valid too. But right now, I'm not sure what each of you need, but I'd like you to dig into whatever is speaking to you right now. I'd also like you to encourage all of us to shift our perspectives, to make a deliberate practice to understand the nature of our mind and how our mind helps or hinders us. How we think, what we think, where we let our thoughts go, all of this can determine if we can and will live fully and joyfully, even in the midst of a really tough time. I decided to dig through a variety of sources to pull out phrases or paragraphs that might help us think about how we want to live fully and how we can live joyfully, even when things seem to be sucking. Joanna Macy's opening quote kicks us off with the idea that we are not alone in this pursuit of joy and joyful living, even if it feels that way. We can learn from and live through one another's strengths and joys. So many messages we receive, or the buttons that were implanted on us when we were young, tell us when someone else is happy, we should feel bad or maybe jealous because we're not as happy as them or we don't have as much as them. But the opposite is the reality. When those we love and those we are in community with feel joy and satisfaction, we too can feel joy and contentment. We can share in it and thus shift our own perspective to see that joy is always a possibility. It's a spiritual shift, really, a shift that encompasses the following: from me to we, from what I don't have to what I do have, from looking back with regret and looking forward with worry to living right here, right now, from if only to thanks, wow. His Holiness, the Dalai Lama says, in identifying one's mental state as the prime factor in achieving happiness, of course, that doesn't deny that our basic physical needs for food, clothing, and shelter must be met. But once these basic needs are met, the message is clear. We don't need more money. We don't need greater success or fame. We don't need the perfect body or even the perfect mate. Right now, at this very moment, we have a mind, which is all the basic equipment we need to achieve complete happiness. Stress reduction and yoga teacher Mina Hamilton reminds us that we can start this mind shift right when we wake up in the morning. She says, perhaps the most amazing event of the day is waking up. You survived. Throughout the night, with absolutely no effort on your part, all systems were A-okay. It's easy to complain about the things that have gone wrong, hard to remind ourselves of what we take for granted. Hey, I'm alive gives you an opportunity to correct that imbalance. Playwright Thornton Wilder is quoted as saying, "We can only be said to be alive in those moments when our hearts are conscious of our treasures." I feel like I need to say that again. We can only be said to be alive in those moments when our hearts are conscious of our treasures. Alan Klein uses that quote to write a short piece about Wilder's play, Our Town, when Emily returns to Earth to observe her family on her 12th birthday. Emily asks, do any human beings ever realize life while they live it? Klein responds, there is so much distraction around us that life often passes us by without us noticing the small, fleeting moments that are what life is really about. During this great pause, when we might be less distracted, perhaps we can engage our minds and shift our perspective to realize life now while we are living it. Rafaela and I watched the film Captain Fantastic on Friday night, and I absolutely loved it. No, it's not a superhero movie. It's about a family that has chosen to live off-grid, eschewing conventional notions of success and freedom. I could go deep into how Buddhist the film was, or how much I loved the socialist versus capitalist views of the world, or how much I love Viggo Mortensen. But the big takeaway I want to share today is this. If we are in community or relationship with people we love, who share a vision for a better, more just world, then we have enough. We are enough, and we can live every day fully and vibrantly, and we can make and be our own joy. My beloveds, we are that to one another. We are the community we've been looking for. May we realize that we are enough, we have enough, and that our joy is a collective joy. May we be aware of the tricks our mind plays on us. May we shift our perspective to live more fully and joyfully. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. And I am going to invite everyone to sing Gather the Spirit. I'm going to pull up a slide. Hopefully I'm going to mute myself, unmute Catherine, and put the lyrics on the screen. And please sing it out.
Gather the Spirit, harvest the flower, our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour, when trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit of heart and mind, seeds for the soul are laid in store, nurtured in love and conscience refined, the body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit growing in law, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring and summer and fall, chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you. Everyone, I heard you. I knew I heard you out there. I knew it. I felt it. I felt a disturbance in the force in a good way, and I knew we were all singing together. Our closing words this morning are adapted from the Reverends John and Sarah Millspow. As we have been blessed, so we bless one another to be a blessing. Breathe in, breathe out, this breath we share with all that breathes. Feel the love of the universe flowing through this community into you and out into the universe again. Let the love of all the universe, your love, flow outward to its height, its depth, its broad extent. You are more than you know and more beloved than you know. Take up what power is yours to create a safe haven, to make of earth a heaven. Give hope to those you encounter, that they may know safety from inner and outer harm. Be happy and at peace, healthy and strong, caring and joyful. Be the blessing you already are. That is enough. Blessed be, and amen. We will extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of humanity, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. I want to take a moment to scroll through and see everyone's faces. I encourage you to do the same, to connect. I also want to add a final piece of music. So anyone who came to our Earth Day service, we did a service on Wednesday with speakers from different faith communities, and there was music, and someone had shown me this video that Mohunk Mountain House had made, singing, where some of their staff were in the tower singing Mozart. And I called the Mountain House and they gave me permission to, like, they sent me an actual copy so that I could play it, and they gave us permission. And so I figured, since I have the permission, I think I'd like to share it with you all if you weren't there Wednesday. So I'm going to share my screen again for a final piece of music with incredibly beautiful views of where we live in the world, which is the second blessing of it. And then we'll come back and we'll go into our breakout groups. And someone asked about the reading. So I've been posting my reflections with the readings on our website. So I will do the same. I will post this reading and its source with the reflection in the next day or so. And I encourage you to visit there to find that. All right, so let's watch this and then we'll come back again.
We're here at Skytop Tower. We're singing Dona Nobis Pacem, Grant Us Peace, music from Mozart.
Thank you.
Sending peace and love from Mohawk Mountain House.
Lovely. Yes. So I just want to say thank you all for being here this morning. It's wonderful to virtually be in connection with you, however form it takes. It's great to see you. I wish you to go into your week reminding that you are enough, that we are the community we need. I miss you all. I love you all. And now to our breakout rooms. So stick around if you want to be included.